Good morning, class. And we are back again after a little bit of a break for some more Cardfight area deck and fights. So I do want to apologise first for there being no videos last week. I was honestly recovering for the most part from BSF, but we're now back in the routine and want to get these started. And it was good we had a little break, because that also means that we gave enough time for one of the promos to come out for today's video, which is all going to be about the Mythiarqs. So we're going to start off by covering the good old boss unit of Mythiarq Luluszulu. Now, Luluszulu's got two different skills. First one being Auto. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck, use up to one grade 3 or less unit card from among them, call it to Rearguard Circle, and shuffle your deck. And then, if you have 5 or more units, your opponent chooses a card from their hand and discards it. And second skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, you can cast Counterblast 1. Choose one of your rearguards with Mythiarq in its card name, turn it to your hand, choose up to one card with Mythiarq in its different card name from your card returned to your hand, and call it a Rearguard Circle. So first skill's really nice because it obviously helps you set up a board. But whilst you're setting up the board, if you've done enough prep, you actually then get to minus your opponent a card directly, which is really strong. Now it does help some matchups out, like for example Zorga, they can actually discard their roaming prison dragons. So you do have to be careful about when to use and not use the skill depending on the matchup. But it's really nice to have it there as a whole to support the card. As for the second skill, this is really nice for extra multi-attack for the deck. So obviously Mythiarq outside of Luluszulu does not have multi-attack. So this is really nice. Plus it lets you reuse your on-play skills for your Mythiarqs. But it's also doing one thing extra. You can use the first skill of Luluszulu to find a copy of itself and call it a Rearguard Circle. And then utilise the second skill to then bounce it to your hand. And then you'll set up for Persona Ride the following turn, which is really solid. Especially when you can combine it with stuff like Orbidol as well, in case you don't hit the Luluszulu off the top decks. Just to get that extra chance of getting the Persona Rides onto the board to bounce back to hand to combo off with. But what else have we got to support Luluszulu? Well, the other support card I'm going to discuss is the good old Mythiarq Mythiarq. It's an absolute nightmare to pronounce. I do not like these Mythiarq names. But Mythiarq has got the skill of, when this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle, if you have 3 or more units with Mythiarq in their card names, this unit gets 5,000 power to end a turn. Then, you can Soul Blast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and that unit cannot stand during your opponent's next stand phase. And the second skill is Act once a turn. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Mythiarq in its card name, you can cast Bind a Rearguard with Mythiarq in its different card name from this unit, and call the card bound for this cost back to Rearguard Circle. So the first part is showing a bit what the Mythiarqs are about, and they all gain skills based on the number of different rearguards with Mythiarq in their card name. So obviously this one is 5k and gain 3 rearguards, you gain 5k and the ability to stun one of your opponent's rearguards. Which, for those that remember the Mega Colony days, it just means they can't stand. Whereas second skill lets you then reutilise your other Mythiarq's rearguard skills on place, which again means really nice combos. So, really good key piece. Being able to abuse it multiple times is really solid on top, and it leads to some really fun plays. But why just talk about these fun plays? Let's just cut over to the video now, and you can actually see these fun plays in action. And here we are in the game. So, as you can see from the conflict here, I do get to go second. which is a bit of a downside because I do like to go first with this deck. As you can see here, we're against the Overlord the End deck. Don't know why they kept the Army of Perfect Guards, but they did. Not going to knock them their choice. But as you can see from our hand here, we've got a really nice setup going. So, obviously... Actually, no, we get to go first, sorry. Because they called heads, we got tails. I'm done. Smiles. So, us getting to go first is even stronger now for the fact that we actually get to properly combo off. So, as you can see, opponent has discarded the Draconic Overlord now. So, they are set up for all the Hatchet. And we're just here discarding all our Mythiarq platypuses, because obviously we've got so many of them. But we're not going to attack for the obvious reason of it then means that he can't counterblast one with Bar to search for something. Because we don't know he's got the 2 Perfect Guards in hand at this point. Or 3 now, because obviously he's got the Sanctitude on top. But it just meant he could do nothing. And obviously we guard there with the Maple, so obviously the Maple then come out in the ride phase as well, giving us the extra unit. We no-guard the Vanguard, go to 2 damage, and we're all set up, ready to go. Now we can start the pressuring. So we discard our grade 3 because we don't need it at this point. And then we're going to resolve so many multiple skills. Start off with the skill for Maple, call itself to Rearguard Circle. Then we're going to use the Ride Line skill, call itself from Soul. And then it Soul Charges one. It was placed, and a Rearguard can't intercept. So we've got the start of the control coming down. Then we've got Luluszulu skill to check top 7. And we get our Mythiarq. So it then also forces a discard because we've got our 5 rear guards. But we've also got the now placed card, so it's not going to be able to stand either. So really big pressure. So, shut down the full rear guard. We get to play the game of swapping around. I accidentally put into the damage zone, smiles. But we're going to provide some really big pressure in this upcoming turn now, because obviously our platypus is now online, so we get to give 5k to the unit in front of it. And we're just going to put the booster down behind the Vanguard, so we've got that extra little bit of pressure to force some really big numbers at the Vanguard. We are going to start with a beautiful 15 at the Vanguard, forcing 10k shield out of them. But then if you notice, we've not got good Mythiarqs in our hand. So we're not going to really be able to utilise the skill well. So I choose not to use it, because I don't want to give up the Persona Ride at this point. First check is now, second check is a heal, so I get to 5k and heal off the Maple, which is really solid. And then we get to force another 33 at the Vanguard, which forces either a lot of guard or they're going all the way to 3. So they do choose to guard with 2 crit triggers. Down and draw. And now that you can see from their hand, they're in a very tough position, because they haven't got the Order Hatchet to get the Draconic Overlord in Soul to give the extra pressure. And they haven't got good rear guards at this point either. Yes, he gets his Nahalan from the Soul, and he can call the Burning Horn from hand to create 4 attacks still. But that's taken away a lot of pressure. So he does do a top 7 check and grabs a Persona Ride for next turn. So I now know that I'm starting to be on the clock. Obviously, not knowing his the mass part of his hand, I'm just working off of what I can see. But as you can see from our hand, we're not in a bad spot either. Because we're going to be able to double intercept if we want to, then use Forbidol to grab 2 grade 3s from there, accept the Persona Ride for the following turn. And we're just going to take it. He gets the over trigger. So 100 million restand, second check crit. So that did happen, but then we also hit our defensive over trigger. And because I'm smart, I put 10k on the rear guard that I want to keep. Obviously, he swings in with the Vanguard. I do that to give him a 1 to pass, 2 to pass. As we wait. And there we go. There's the drive check. He checks an Overlord and a crit. And puts the power on the rear guard, crit to the Vanguard, because we know it's going to be restanding again. Guards 2 cards, because obviously he's not seen his Halberd either. And then swings in one last time. And because I know what's coming, he's only got 1 drive check. I can do that and not have to worry. We don't talk about how I was actually off 5k shields each time because I can't math. But I was in a position of I could still have intercepted and not have to worry because I'm about to lose my rear guards anyway. Due to the fact of they're both going to swing at them. But obviously we're not going to be too worried anyway for the sheer fact of we've got the Forbidol to reset the board back up. So obviously he swings at the first rear guard. I just let it drop, and he swings at the second rear guard, which I also let drop. But we've now top decked into the Giraffe again, Mythiarq, which is really good. We got our Mythiarq that then checks up 7. We've got the 5 units again, so he's got to do yet another discard. But we're also in a very solid position at this point. So we've ripped another Burning Corn out of their hand, but we can now control the tempo and mitigate what they can and can't do. So obviously we're going to Soul Blast and say, for example, oh, this can't intercept, which we've gone for the solo the Harlem, because that's not an issue to us. Because that's what's an issue to us. Other side he can intercept and bring forward still. This side he's got nothing in that column. We then do activate our Forbidol. And do decide to go for the Luluszulu and call over the Maple with another grade 3. Because we're now in a good position of being able to set up what we want to do. We use grade 3s on place to count blast 1, draw a card. Now, if I remember correctly, I think we don't do much more for the fact of obviously our Vanguard needs a count blast as well. No, we do call over the grade 3 with another Platypus, just to give another 5k to the unit in front of it, making that a strong 38k column. But we're then going to start swinging with the Vanguard, starting with a 28k. So obviously it forces a 15, but he does intercept with the unit that can't stand. That's not an issue. Counter blast, we put our Persona Ride back into hand, and then call down the Platypus again, the Giraffe again. Which obviously says something can't stand again. So, really big numbers across the board. This is 31 at the Vanguard. And he can't stand his Burning Horn again, so we've got some really big pressure. First check's a crit, so pushing them to 4, which is really solid. And the second check is a countercharger. The issue with our countercharger, which is why I don't like it too much, is the fact that it needs 3 face down damage. So like in this game where I've not taken much damage, it does cause some issues. Opponent does get pushed to 5, 48k at the Vanguard. He's now forced to use one of his perfect guards that we didn't know about. And he's got a 4-card hand of 2 perfect guards and 15k shield. So we're in a really good position next turn. He's finally found his Order Hatchet. There's the Persona Ride. But he's in an awkward position of he's not going to get 4 attacks this turn now, because obviously we've seen his hand. And we know there's no other rearguard to call down. So what he'll likely do is he'll swap the Nahalem and the Burning Horn around again. Just so he can have that extra bit of, I want to still have 3 attacks at least. So Vanguard is going to be hitting scary numbers due to the fact of it's got the 5k from Nahalem and then 5k because we've now got the base Overlord installed. But we've not got an over trigger anymore, so I haven't got to worry about that. So any crits he gets here isn't going to be scary. And as we see, there's no crits. Opponent does do the Counterblast 1, discard 2 again to restand, but does get his 2 drives this time, not just the 1, because obviously he's got the Overlord and Soul. Just to be on the safe side, I do Perfect Guard. So I don't want to risk a crit Vanguard. So first check's a crit, second check isn't, so I can happily take this one, get pushed to 5, and still be in a very solid position for the final push next turn. Because I'm going to try and remove his entire hand out of this. He's just umming and ahhing. Does he actually want to swing Vanguard and give me more Counterblast to play with, or does he actually just want to pass turn? Which, honestly speaking, neither makes a difference, because the fact of my next Counterblast would give me a countercharge anyway, due to the fact that I've got that to play with. So obviously, we do get another Persona Rod going off. So we're doing another top 5 check, top 7 check again. At this point, if we can, like we show here, we find the Mythiarq Habitat, which is a special order that says you can count it as a unit when you're doing your top checks, and when it would be called to rearguard circle, you put it into your hand instead. So we take another card out of our opponent's hand, put them down to 5, and this is where we can have fun. Because obviously we can use Mythiarq Habitat to grab anything from the top 7 now, call it over the giraffe, which you get the can't intercept, which is perfect for this situation. Because now we get to shut off the intercept from the Nahalem and force it he has to guard with everything from his hand. Also now, because we've called a unit from a card from a unit's ability, we do get our front row. Well, we didn't get... If we'd really wanted to, we could have giraffed and called and recalled just to get the 5Ks. I'm still getting used to the deck, so do expect misplays. So obviously, Counterblast 1, bounce, and we're going to call the bunny back down. But then obviously, because we've got our 3 face 10 damage, we can then countercharge. So opponent's in a very precarious position now, because they've got to guard with, ideally, as they do here, guard with both of them, forcing a 2 to pass. First check's a draw. So in my position here, as I do, I put it on the Vanguard, because it's the best outcome. And then second check is the crit trigger, giving all effects to the Vanguard. Right. That was the game. I shall catch you guys back again in a minute. Alright. And that was the game. So, people are more like thinking why I actually went for the 2 to pass. Well, the reason behind that is, with the way he guarded, the only way he'd have done that is if he'd got double perfect guard in hand. Because if you're going to take one of the swings anyway, because you're not able to guard everything, taking the Vanguard is your best one. So the way he guarded, giving me the 2 to pass, led to his double perfect guard. So going through the motions and giving the power to the Vanguard on the first check was the smart call to go for. I do want to apologise for the slight misplays with the 5k powers, but it wasn't game breaking as such, because we obviously could have still used the mirroring to bind a card, call a card for no extra costs, and still got the 5Ks from the little platypus called Indrina. So let's look at the example list that we've got here then quickly. And as you can see here, I've just gone for the simple options of 3 copies, or at least, of everything the Mythiarq. I have also gone, obviously, as you saw from the games, with 3 maples as well. Just for the fact of it lets us build a board up on that grade 3 turn without having to commit to a board. So all we have to commit to board is 1 unit, because then the riding up into the Luluszulu gives us the maple call, the grade 2 from the ride line call in the form of Lewis Manta. And then we're getting the Luluszulu skill on top of that to call the 5th rear guard down, and we get to do the discard. So having all of that is really nice to have. Mythiarq Habitat is the really nice order, and it gets around so much and gets to be so fun that it's really good to have. It's a solid order that we know is coming to English now in the Set 11 sneak peek, so it's going to be legal with the Mythiarqs on release, which is really solid. And it helps so many decks just beyond Mythiarqs. It's a good Story Chaos staple both for standard and for premium, and could lead to some really interesting plays. Overall, this is very interesting, very fun, but if you do end up against a heavy retired deck, it does become hard to maintain the board state. But overall, it's still enjoyable. But that's going to be it for this video. If you haven't done so already, please do like and subscribe. It very much does help the channel. And I shall catch you guys in the next video. Bye bye.